This title is presented to you by Soundlibra.com. For more audiobooks like this, click the link in the description or visit our website at Soundlibra.com. Welcome to the Influence Playbook, your guide to ethically persuading and leading. Before we jump in, a quick heads up that while we're discussing psychological principles and professional strategies, this content is for educational purposes and isn't a substitute for professional legal or psychological advice.
That's an important distinction to make. In a world that's constantly asking us to do more, understanding how and why we say yes is incredibly powerful.
And that's exactly what we're diving into. Over the next 13 episodes, we'll unpack the science behind ethical influence. Think of it as a toolkit for leaders, for communicators, and for anyone who wants to connect with others more effectively and inspire positive action.
So, Alex, what's the big picture here? Why is ethical influence so important, especially in leadership?
That's a great starting point, Lisa. Ethical influence isn't about trickery. It's about understanding human psychology, the fundamental drivers that lead people to agree and to act, and then using that understanding to build win-win situations. Genuine influence fosters trust, collaboration, and lasting relationships. It's about guiding people towards choices that benefit them, while also achieving a desired outcome.
So, not manipulation, which often benefits only one party. It's more about mutual benefit and building strong connections.
Exactly. Manipulation is a short-term strategy that erodes trust. Ethical influence, on the other hand, is a long-term approach that strengthens it. Think about it. When you feel genuinely persuaded, or when you've made a decision that feels right and benefits you, you're more likely to feel positive about that decision and the person who helped you get there.
That makes sense. It's the difference between feeling pressured into something and feeling understood and guided. So, what are the core principles we'll be exploring in this playbook?
We've identified 7 fundamental principles of persuasion that are backed by decades of research. These are universal human tendencies that, when understood and applied ethically, can dramatically enhance your ability to influence. We'll start by exploring the core of it all, the principle of reciprocity.
Reciprocity. That sounds like a two-way street. What exactly does that mean in the context of influence?
It means that we tend to feel obligated to give back when we receive something first. It's a deeply ingrained social norm. If someone does us a favor, we feel a pull to return that favor. If they give us a gift, we feel compelled to offer one in return.
So it's that feeling you get when a friend buys you coffee and you automatically think, I should get the next round. Or when someone goes out of their way to help you and you want to do something nice for them in return.
Precisely. And this principle is incredibly powerful. In business, for instance, offering a small, unexpected gift or a bit of helpful information up front can create a sense of indebtedness that makes the recipient more open to your request later on. It's about providing value first.
So, by giving first, you're not just being generic, you're also laying the groundwork for a positive response when you eventually need something. It's a way of building goodwill.
Absolutely. But it's crucial to remember the ethical aspect. The gift or favor needs to be genuine and valuable to the recipient, not just a transparent ploy. When reciprocity is sincere, it builds rapport and opens doors.
That distinction between genuine generosity and a manipulative tactic is so important. It's about creating a feeling of shared experience or mutual benefit, rather than creating a debt that feels burdensome.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Imagine you're at a trade show. If a vendor just hands you a flyer, you might take it and forget it. But if they offer you a free sample of their product or a helpful tip related to your industry, you've received something of value. You're now more likely to remember them and potentially consider their offer later.
That's a great example. So, reciprocity is our first tool. What's next on the agenda?
Following closely behind reciprocity is the principle of what's in it for me, or as we like to call it, the WIFM principle. People are naturally motivated by their own needs and desires.
Which makes perfect sense. We all want to know how something will benefit us.
It does. And harnessing this understanding is key. When you can clearly articulate the benefits of your idea, your product, or your proposal from the other person's perspective, you're tapping into a powerful motivator. It's about focusing on their perspective, their potential gains.
So, it's about really understanding their needs and showing them how what you offer aligns with those needs. It's not about what you want them to do, but how what you're suggesting will improve their situation.
That's the essence of it. We'll explore how to uncover those needs and frame your message to speak directly to them in our next episode. We'll also delve into the power of the pack, which is all about social proof, how the actions and opinions of others influence our own decisions.
Social proof. I'm already thinking about herd mentality and how we look to others when we're unsure. It's fascinating how powerful that can be.
It is, and we'll break down how to leverage that ethically. So, to recap this episode, we've introduced the concept of ethical influence, persuading with integrity to build trust and achieve mutual benefit. We've highlighted that it's distinct from manipulation, focusing on long-term relationships. And we've introduced our first principle, reciprocity, the powerful human tendency to return favors.
And we've also given a sneak peek into our next episode, where we'll dive into the what's in it for me principle and the importance of focusing on the benefits for the other person.
That's right. We're building a robust framework for ethical influence step by step.
I'm already feeling more equipped. Thank you, Alex.
My pleasure, Lisa. And for our listeners, remember, effective influence starts with understanding and respect. Next episode, the science of what's in it for me. Welcome back. Last time we covered the foundation of ethical influence. Now let's tackle the science of what's in it for me.
That's a great way to put it, Alex. It sounds a little selfish, but really, it's about understanding motivation. When we talk about what's in it for me, we're really talking about the principle of reciprocity. It's a fundamental human tendency, so ingrained that we often don't even notice it.
Exactly, Lisa. Reciprocity is the give and take, the tit for tat. It's that feeling you get when someone does you a favor, and you feel an almost irresistible urge to return it. Think about it. If a colleague gives you a ride home when your car breaks down, you'll likely feel compelled to buy them coffee or help them with a task later on. This isn't just politeness, it's a deeply wired social norm.
It's like an invisible thread connecting people. When one person gives something of value, a favor, a gift, or even just their time and attention, the other person feels an obligation to give something back. And this obligation is potent. It can be the spark that ignites a relationship or seals a deal.
Absolutely. Researchers have studied this extensively. One classic experiment involved a simple act of gifting. Researchers posing as shoppers would give a small gift, like a chocolate bar, to participants. Later, those participants were much more likely to buy products from that same researcher, even if they weren't particularly interested in them initially. The gift created a sense of debt.
So, it's not always about a tangible item. It could be offering helpful advice, sharing useful information, or simply showing genuine interest in someone. These acts can create a powerful feeling of indebtedness, motivating the recipient to reciprocate.
Precisely. And this principle is vital for anyone in a leadership or influencing position. If you want to build strong relationships and encourage cooperation, you need to be the first to give. Think about a leader who consistently goes the extra mile for their team, offering support, recognition, or opportunities for growth. What do you think happens?
The team members are far more likely to go above and beyond themselves. They feel valued, and they feel that sense of obligation to give back to that leader. They're more likely to take on challenging projects, work late if needed, and support their leader's vision.
That's the magic of reciprocity. It works because it's universal. Every culture, every society has some form of this principle. It's a social lubricant that allows us to build trust and cooperation. Without it, our interactions would be much more transactional and less connected.
It's like building a foundation of goodwill. When you consistently offer value first, you're essentially prepaying for future cooperation. And that's a powerful position to be in.
It really is. Now, how can we ethically apply this? It's crucial that the initial offering is perceived as genuine and valuable, not manipulative. If people sense you're just giving something hoping for a specific, immediate return, it backfires. The key is to give freely and thoughtfully.
So, instead of thinking, what can I get? It's about thinking, how can I genuinely help or add value? And then, trusting that the reciprocation will come naturally, often in ways we might not even expect.
Exactly. Imagine you're a manager and a team member is struggling with a new skill. Instead of just waiting for them to figure it out, you take the time to mentor them, share your insights, and offer support. That investment of your time and expertise creates a strong sense of reciprocity. Later, when you need that team member to step up on a challenging project, they'll be far more motivated to do so because you've already invested in them.
It makes sense. It's about building that reservoir of positive regard. And once that reservoir is full, people are much more likely to respond favorably to your requests.
Absolutely. Consider the idea of concessions. If you make a concession, say, in a negotiation, the other party feels a strong impulse to reciprocate by making a concession of their own. This can be a powerful tool for reaching agreements, but again, the initial concession must be genuine and perceived as a real sacrifice, not a trick.
So, to recap, the principle of reciprocity is about the innate human tendency to return favors. When we receive something of value, we feel an obligation to give something back. This is powerful because it's universal and creates a sense of debt and connection.
And ethically, it means being the first to give, offering genuine value without immediate expectation of return. Whether it's a gift, a favor, information, or support, the act of giving first builds goodwill and makes others more receptive to our influence later on. It's about building relationships by being a valuable contributor.
It's a fundamental building block for trust and cooperation. It really highlights how interconnected we are and how much we rely on mutual exchange.
Indeed, understanding and applying reciprocity ethically is a cornerstone of effective influence. It's not about manipulation. It's about fostering positive relationships through genuine generosity.
And that sets us up perfectly for our next topic, which looks at how we're influenced by the people around us and our desire to fit in.
That's right. Next episode, The Power of the Pack, Social Proof Explained. Welcome back. Last time, we explored what's in it for me. Today, we're discussing the power of the pack, social proof.
Social proof. So we look at what others are doing to decide what we should do?
Exactly. In uncertain situations, we look to others. Think about choosing a restaurant in a new city. You often pick the one with the longest line. It's a mental shortcut.
It reduces the risk, right? If others are doing it, it's probably good.
Precisely. We are social creatures who want to be correct. Social proof tells us that when we see people behaving a certain way, especially in unfamiliar territory, we assume that's the correct way. It aligns with our need for connection we discussed previously.
So it's not just about popularity, but correctness determined by the majority?
You got it. Researcher Robert Cialdini highlights this. It's a mental shortcut that saves us from analyzing every decision.
Can you share examples?
Customer reviews and testimonials are prime examples. Do you check star ratings before buying online?
Absolutely. Hundreds of five-star reviews make me feel confident. Conversely, low ratings send me running.
That's social proof. Positive reviews provide evidence of good experiences. Influencer endorsements also work similarly. If someone you trust recommends something, you're more likely to consider it.
If they liked it, I might like it too.
Yes, bestseller lists are another. Millions sold, or a global phenomenon, implies value based on widespread acceptance.
It's like saying, look at all these other people who found it worthwhile.
Right? Laughter tracks on sitcoms cue us when to laugh. Even cues outside a popular venue suggest something good is happening inside.
How do we use this ethically? It seems like it could be manipulative.
That's crucial. Ethical application relies on authenticity and accuracy. Showcase genuine satisfaction and positive experiences transparently.
So, highlight happy customers?
Yes, encourage genuine testimonials and share real success stories. If you've served 1,000 clients or have overwhelmingly positive feedback from beta testers, share that. Reflect reality, don't manufacture consent.
Instead of everyone loves our product, you'd say, over 95% of our customers report increased satisfaction. If true,
Exactly. Or join thousands of satisfied users. It's about providing credible evidence of positive outcomes. Social proof is strongest when the observed people are similar to us or perceived as experts.
a testimonial from another small business owner would resonate more with me than one from a huge corporation if I'm a small business owner.
Precisely. It's about finding those connection points. We also see social proof in fear of missing out or FOMO. Popularity can create urgency because people don't want to be left out.
This explains so much about our decisions. It's a fundamental tendency to look to others.
It is. Social proof is the phenomenon where people assume the actions of others reflect correct behavior. We see it in reviews, testimonials, and following the crowd. Ethically, it's about showcasing genuine experiences and credible evidence. By understanding this, we build trust and demonstrate value.
So, to use social proof ethically, we need real, verifiable examples of people benefiting, presented fairly.
Exactly. It builds confidence through the collective wisdom of others. And that leads us to our next topic, building genuine connections that strengthen influence.
Great.
So, next time, we'll focus on building bridges and fostering connection.
Indeed. Join us for episode 4, Building Bridges, the Principle of Liking. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Today, we're diving deep into the principle of liking.
And this one feels so natural, Alex. We all want to be liked, and it makes total sense that this would be a key part of influencing others.
Exactly, Lisa. The principle of liking states that we are more likely to agree to requests from people we know and like. It's about genuine connection, not just superficial charm.
So, what creates that genuine connection? What makes us like someone more?
Psychologists point to several key factors. One is physical attractiveness. We tend to unconsciously associate attractiveness with other positive traits.
That makes sense. Presenting yourself well can certainly help make a good first impression.
Precisely. But it goes deeper. Another significant factor is similarity. We naturally like people who share our interests, values, background, or even personality traits. Finding common ground creates an instant bond.
Like discovering a shared favorite band. It's an immediate shortcut to connection.
Absolutely. And this is where we can consciously build rapport. Actively seeking and highlighting these authentic similarities can be very effective.
So, if I want to connect with someone, I should look for what we have in common and point it out?
In a genuine way, yes. For example, if you know they support a cause you also believe in, mentioning it can build that positive connection. It's about discovering and using authentic shared ground.
That brings us to compliments. Sincere ones, I assume?
Only sincere compliments. Everyone enjoys genuine praise. It makes us feel good and increases our liking for the giver. The word sincere is critical. Insincere flattery can backfire.
Over-the-top compliments would definitely feel like a tactic, not genuine praise.
Exactly. It damages trust. But a sincere, specific compliment can significantly boost likability because it shows you've noticed something positive about them.
So, attractiveness, similarity, and sincere compliments are key. What else?
Familiarity is another major driver. We develop a preference for things we are familiar with. Regular, positive interactions with someone breed liking. Consistent, positive engagement is vital for building relationships and influence.
This connects beautifully to earlier topics, doesn't it? Social proof involved repeated exposure, and reciprocity involves positive interactions. It all builds familiarity.
You've got it. These principles intertwine. Infrequent or negative interactions breed dislike. So consistent positive presence builds familiarity and liking.
And what about cooperation? Doesn't working together towards a goal make you like people more?
Absolutely. Cooperation is a powerful liking builder. Working together on shared objectives creates a sense of teamwork and shared success, which magnifies positive feelings.
It's like going through a challenge together. You build a shared history and mutual reliance.
Precisely. And this relates to association. We like people associated with good things. If someone shares a great recommendation, you form a positive association with them.
So, to be liked, we should try to associate ourselves with positive things and people?
That's the essence. It's about creating a positive aura through your associations. Consciously aligning yourself with positive elements enhances how others perceive you.
This is so insightful. So, the key drivers of liking are physical attractiveness, similarity, sincere compliments, familiarity, cooperation, and positive associations. Focusing on these can genuinely increase how much people like us.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Remember, the goal is not manipulation, but understanding human connection to build stronger, more positive relationships. When people like you, they are more open to your ideas and more likely to cooperate.
Practicing these principles authentically should make us more influential and foster more fulfilling relationships.
Indeed, it's a win-win, and applying these principles ethically is paramount. We're empowering ourselves to connect, not deceive.
Excellent point. So, we've covered social proof and liking. We're building a strong foundation.
Yes, next time, we'll explore another powerful driver, the weight of authority. How does expertise and credibility influence us?
Join us for Episode 5, The Weight of Authority, Establishing Credibility.
Welcome back to the Influence Playbook. Today, we're focusing on authority.
Authority. It's that feeling we get when we encounter someone who seems to know what they're talking about, someone we trust to have the right answers. It's efficient.
Exactly. When we encounter a problem, we often look for cues that tell us who is knowledgeable. This is where the principle of authority shines in ethical influence. People tend to follow credible experts.
So, it's not about being bossy, but about genuinely having and demonstrating expertise that earns respect.
Precisely. Think about it, Lisa. If you needed advice on a complex medical issue, would you rather get it from a seasoned physician with years of experience and impressive credentials, or from someone who just read a few articles online?
The physician, hands down. It's the years of study, the hands-on experience, the track record. That's what builds authority.
And that's the core of ethical authority. It's earned, not assumed. It's built on knowledge, experience, and commitment to a field. When we establish ourselves as authorities, people are more likely to listen to our advice and accept our suggestions.
So, practically speaking, how do we build this credibility?
It's about signaling that expertise clearly. This can manifest through symbols of authority. Think about the white coat of a doctor, the uniform of a police officer, or a degree on a wall. These are universally recognized indicators of expertise.
Ah, so it's a shortcut for our brains. We see the symbol and associate it with knowledge or authority.
Exactly. But it's crucial to distinguish between genuine symbols and mere pretenses. True authority comes from substance, not just appearance. Another critical element is reputation. What do others say about you? Positive testimonials and endorsements contribute to your perceived authority. Remember social proof? Authority and social proof work hand in hand.
That makes sense. If people we trust also trust someone, that bolsters our confidence in that person's authority.
You've got it. And don't underestimate continuous learning and sharing that knowledge. When you consistently demonstrate that you're staying current, actively engaged, and willing to share, you build a reputation as a true expert.
So, it's about being the go to person, the one people turn to for accurate, helpful information.
Precisely. And this principle is so potent because it taps into a deep-seated psychological tendency. We're wired to respect and defer to those we perceive as having superior knowledge or skill.
But what about situations where someone displays authority without really having it?
That's a critical point, Lisa, and it leads us to the ethical dimension. True ethical influence relies on leveraging genuine authority. This means cultivating real expertise, being honest about your limitations, and using your influence for good. Artificial displays of authority are manipulative and erode trust.
So, when we talk about the weight of authority, it's about the weight of earned authority.
Exactly. It's about being the doctor who has medical knowledge and builds patient trust, which we discussed in liking. It's about being the expert who communicates complex risks clearly. It's about being the author whose research is impeccable.
It's about substance over showmanship.
That's a great way to put it. So, to recap, the principle of authority hinges on our natural inclination to defer to credible experts. We establish this credibility through genuine knowledge and experience. We signal this authority through recognized symbols, a strong reputation, and by consistently demonstrating our expertise. And crucially, ethical authority is earned and used responsibly, fostering trust and genuine persuasion.
It's a powerful tool for influence, but one that must be wielded with integrity.
Absolutely. And next time, we will delve into another fundamental principle that influences our decisions, scarcity. We'll explore why the perceived rarity of something can dramatically increase its desirability. Thanks for listening. Welcome back. Last time, we explored the power of authority. Today, we're diving into the principle of scarcity.
The scarcity mindset. It sounds a little dramatic, doesn't it? Like something out of a survival guide. But I think we all experience it.
Absolutely, Lisa. At its core, the principle of scarcity suggests that we tend to value things more when their availability is limited. Think about it. When did you last notice something becoming more appealing because it was a limited edition or only available for a short time?
Oh, all the time. It's that feeling, isn't it? You see a sale advertised, limited time only, suddenly you think, I need to decide now. Or a product that's suddenly out of stock everywhere, it makes you want it even more.
Exactly. This isn't just about wanting more. It's about how scarcity impacts our perception of value. When something is perceived as rare or difficult to obtain, our minds automatically assign it a higher value. It's like a mental shortcut. If it's hard to get, it must be worth more, right?
So, it's almost like our brains are wired to pay attention to what's scarce. Why is that, Alex? What's the psychology behind it?
There are a couple of main reasons. One is the fear of missing out, often called FOMO. We have this innate desire to avoid regrets. If we miss out on an opportunity or a desirable item because we didn't act, we might feel a sense of loss. Scarcity plays directly into that fear.
That makes so much sense. Nobody wants to look back and think, oh, I wish I had gotten that.
Precisely. Another reason is that scarcity can signal quality or desirability. If a product is in high demand and therefore limited, it suggests that many other people want it, which can be a form of social proof, kind of like we discussed a few episodes ago. If many people want it, it must be good.
Ah, so it's a blend of avoiding regret and a subtle nudge from perceived social validation.
You've got it. And this principle can be applied in many different contexts, from marketing and sales to leadership and even personal relationships. Imagine a business announcing a limited time discount. This creates urgency, pushing potential customers to make a decision sooner rather than later. Or consider a chef who only offers a special dish on one night of the week. That exclusivity makes it a sought-after experience.
It's a powerful motivator. But like all influence principles, we have to be mindful of using it ethically. How can we leverage scarcity without becoming manipulative?
That's the crucial question, Lisa. The key is authenticity and transparency. Scarcity should ideally be a reflection of genuine limited availability, not an artificial construct designed solely to pressure someone. For instance, if you're offering a workshop, mentioning that there are only a few spots left because you want to maintain a low student-to-instructor ratio for quality learning. That's ethical.
So it's about the reason for the scarcity. If the reason benefits the recipient or maintains a standard, that feels fair.
Exactly. Conversely, creating a false sense of urgency with phrases like this offer will disappear forever tomorrow, when it's actually a recurring promotion that crosses into manipulative territory. It breaches trust. Ethical scarcity relies on a genuine limitation, whether that's time, quantity, or unique access.
Can you give us another example of how scarcity works in everyday life? Maybe something less about buying things?
Think about personal development. If you're trying to encourage someone to take on a new skill or responsibility, framing it as a unique opportunity for growth, perhaps one that won't come around again in that specific form, can be motivating. It's not about saying, you must do this, but highlighting that this is a special chance to develop your abilities in a way that might not be available later.
So it's not forcing someone, but rather illuminating the preciousness of the opportunity itself.
Precisely. And this ties back to the idea of perceived value. When we perceive something as scarce, we often focus on its potential benefits and positive attributes more intensely. We might overlook minor drawbacks because the opportunity itself feels so valuable.
It's fascinating how deeply ingrained this is. It taps into our desire for what we can't easily have and our aversion to regret.
It really does. And remember, the goal in ethical influence is not to trick or coerce, but to encourage informed and beneficial decisions. Scarcity, when used honestly, can highlight the genuine value of an opportunity or offering. It helps people recognize what truly matters.
So, to summarize, the principle of scarcity tells us that things become more desirable when they are limited in availability. This happens because of our fear of missing out and the subtle cue that scarcity can signal quality. When we apply scarcity ethically, we're highlighting a genuine limitation, be it time, quantity, or exclusive access, to help others recognize the value of an opportunity. We avoid manipulating with false urgency and aim for transparency.
That's a perfect recap, Lisa. We've seen how scarcity, when used with integrity, can be a powerful tool to encourage positive action and highlight true value. It's about creating a sense of preciousness around something that is genuinely limited.
Valuable insights, Alex. I'm definitely going to be more aware of this principle, both when I encounter it and when I might consider using it myself.
Excellent. And that brings us to the end of our discussion on the scarcity mindset. Next episode, the commitment continuum. Welcome back to the Influence Playbook. Last time, we explored the principle of scarcity. Today, let's tackle commitment and consistency.
Commitment. That sounds like a big topic. Are we talking about sticking with goals or something deeper?
It's deeper, Lisa. At its core, commitment and consistency deals with our fundamental psychological need to appear consistent in our words and actions. We generally see consistency as a sign of strength and intelligence. Being inconsistent can make us look unreliable.
That makes sense. Nobody likes a flip-flopper. So, if we want to be seen as trustworthy, we strive to be consistent.
Exactly. And this drive for consistency is so powerful that once we make a commitment, especially a public one, we're much more likely to follow through. Even if circumstances change, we'll often stick with it to maintain that sense of consistency.
So, a small commitment can snowball into something much bigger because we want to stay aligned with that initial decision?
Precisely. Commitments that are active, voluntary, and public exert a stronger influence. Imagine someone asking you to sign a petition for a cause you believe in. That's a relatively small, active commitment.
Right.
I've done that. It feels good to support something.
And then, a week later, the same person might ask you to put up a lawn sign or donate to that same cause. Because you've already committed by signing, you're much more likely to agree to the larger request. You're demonstrating consistency with your initial action.
Wow, that's clever. So, it's not necessarily that you suddenly have more resources, but you're motivated by that previous commitment.
Exactly. The initial commitment shapes your self-image. You see yourself as someone who supports this cause. To remain consistent with that self-image, you take on larger commitments that align with it. And the more effort you put into a commitment, the more you value it. Think about when you've worked really hard on a project. You'll value that project more than if someone handed you the finished product.
That's so true. The effort makes it feel earned and important. It's like, I put all that in, so it must be worth something.
That's the psychological principle at play. Effort justification. We justify the effort we expend by increasing our liking for the goal. So, how can we ethically use this principle? It's all about encouraging active participation.
So instead of just telling people what to do, we get them to actively do something first?
Yes. For instance, if you're trying to encourage people to adopt a healthier lifestyle, simply telling them eat vegetables might not be as effective as getting them to take a small step. Maybe it's tracking their food intake for a day or agreeing to try one new vegetable recipe a week. These are active commitments.
I see. And the more public these commitments are, the stronger they become?
Indeed, public commitments are incredibly powerful. Think about testimonials or reviews. When we declare our intentions or actions to others, we create social pressure to follow through. We don't want to lose face or be seen as unreliable.
So, making a commitment out loud or in writing, especially where others can see it, really solidifies it.
Absolutely. Now, an important ethical consideration is ensuring that the initial commitment is genuine and that the person is making it voluntarily. Coercion or trickery undermines the foundation of this principle. Truly ethical influence relies on genuine commitment, not manipulation.
That's a crucial point. It's about empowering people to make choices and then supporting them in being consistent with those choices, rather than tricking them into something they don't really want.
Exactly. Let's recap the key takeaways for commitment and consistency. First, we have a strong inner need to be seen as consistent with our past actions and statements. Second, voluntary, active, and public commitments are far more powerful than passive, private, or forced ones.
And this means that encouraging small, initial active commitments can naturally lead to larger, related commitments down the line as people strive to maintain that consistency.
You've got it. It's about aligning future actions with past statements and behaviors. This principle is incredibly effective when used ethically to help people achieve their goals or adopt positive behaviors by tapping into their inherent desire for consistency.
It's fascinating how these psychological drivers shape our decisions without us even fully realizing it.
It truly is. And understanding these principles allows us to consciously apply them, both in our own lives and in how we interact with others, always with an eye toward ethical influence.
So, we've looked at scarcity and now commitment and consistency. What's next?
Next, we're going to explore the art of framing. It's about how we present information and how that presentation dramatically shapes perception and decision making.
Ooh, framing. That sounds like it could really change how we look at things.
It absolutely does. Join us next time for episode 8, The Art of Framing, Shaping Perception. Welcome back to the Influence Playbook. Last time, we explored the commitment continuum, understanding how getting someone to take a small, initial step can lead them to follow through with bigger actions. Now, we're diving into episode 8, where we'll unpack the powerful concept of framing.
Framing. It sounds so simple, doesn't it, Alex? But we're about to learn just how profound its impact can be on how we perceive information and, ultimately, how we make decisions. It's all about how you present something, right?
Exactly, Lisa. Think about it. The same piece of information delivered in two different ways can evoke completely different reactions. Framing is the art and science of presenting information in a way that influences how it's understood and interpreted. It's about highlighting certain aspects while downplaying others, all to guide someone's perception toward a desired outcome.
So it's not about lying or hiding information, but rather about choosing the best angle to showcase it?
Precisely. It's about emphasizing the benefits, the positives, or the logical connections that align with your goal. Remember how we discussed social proof in episode 3? Framing can leverage that by presenting a choice as the popular or universally accepted one. Or, like we covered in episode 5, authority, framing a suggestion as coming from an expert.
Ah, I see. So the principles we've been learning about can actually be amplified through effective framing. Can you give us a concrete example?
Certainly. Imagine a restaurant is trying to sell a new dessert. They could simply list it on the menu as chocolate cake. Or they could frame it as our decadent, rich chocolate lava cake, baked fresh daily with the finest cocoa and served with a warm raspberry coulis. Which one sounds more appealing?
Oh, definitely the second one. Decadent, rich, baked fresh daily. And that raspberry coulis, it conjures up a much more enticing image and makes me feel like I'm getting something special.
That's framing in action. You're not changing what the dessert is, but you're changing how the listener perceives its value and desirability. This principle is often seen in marketing, but it's incredibly powerful in everyday communication, leadership, and persuasion.
It's like choosing the lens through which someone views a situation.
That's a fantastic analogy, Lisa. And just like a photographer can use different lenses to highlight details, create a sense of depth, or capture a wide vista, we can use framing to shape perception. For instance, we can frame a challenge not as an insurmountable obstacle, but as an opportunity for growth and innovation.
That's a powerful reframing of a potentially negative situation. Instead of feeling discouraged by a problem, people might feel motivated to find a solution.
Exactly. And this leads us to a crucial aspect of framing, focusing on gains versus losses. Research has shown that people are often more motivated to avoid a loss than to gain something. So, if you're selling insurance, you might frame it not as buying peace of mind, but as protecting yourself and your family from devastating financial loss.
Wow, that truly emphasizes the potential negative consequences and nudges people towards action to prevent them. It's a very different emotional trigger.
It is. And the opposite can also be true. If you want to encourage a positive behavior, framing it as a gain or a benefit can be highly effective. For example, instead of saying, don't forget to file your taxes by the deadline, you could say, claim your refund and ensure you're on track by filing your taxes today. Framing it as a refund, again, is more motivating.
So, the key is understanding your audience and your objective. What works for one situation might not work for another.
Absolutely. And it's vital to use this ethically. Framing shouldn't be about deception. It's about presenting the most relevant, beneficial, and truthful aspects of a situation to help people make informed decisions that are in their best interest or in the best interest of the group you're leading. It's about making the positive aspects stand out more clearly.
So, to recap, framing is about how we present information. By carefully choosing our words and focusing on specific aspects, we can significantly influence how that information is perceived. We can highlight benefits, frame challenges as opportunities, and even leverage the powerful motivators of gains versus losses to guide decision making.
And remember that this applies to how people see themselves as well. We can frame our own self-talk. Instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, we can frame it as I'm still learning and growing. This subtle shift in perspective can have a massive impact on our confidence and our willingness to try new things.
That's such a valuable reminder for personal development. It's not just about influencing others, but also about shaping our own internal narrative.
Indeed, as we move towards integrating these principles, understanding framing becomes paramount. It's the invisible architecture that supports how all other influence tactics are received. It shapes the landscape upon which persuasion is built.
So, we've learned about framing, how the presentation of information impacts perception. We've seen how it can highlight benefits, reframe challenges, and use gain or loss framing to motivate. And importantly, we've stressed the ethical use of framing to enhance understanding and guide positive decisions.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. Next time, in episode 9, we'll begin to weave all these powerful principles together. We'll explore the dance of persuasion, showing you how to effectively integrate what we've learned into a cohesive strategy.
Looking forward to it. Next episode, The Dance of Persuasion, integrating the principles.
Welcome back to the Influence Playbook. Last time, we explored how framing can powerfully shape perception. Today, we're diving into episode 9, The Dance of Persuasion, integrating the principles. Get ready to see how all those individual influence tools work together, creating something even bigger.
Absolutely, Alex. It's like we've been learning individual dance steps, and now we're ready to put them all together into a beautiful, collaborative dance. We've covered reciprocity, social proof, liking, authority, scarcity, commitment, and framing. Now, how do these actually combine to make us more persuasive, especially in leadership?
That's the million-dollar question, Lisa. The real magic happens when you don't just use one of these principles, but you strategically weave them together. Think about it. You're not just asking someone to do something. You're building a context, a relationship, and a clear path for them to follow.
So, it's about creating a layered approach, not just relying on, say, the fact that everyone else is doing it with social proof, but also making sure the person likes you and trusts your expertise.
Exactly. Let's take an example. Imagine you want your team to adopt a new project management software. You could start with reciprocity by offering some helpful training sessions or resources beforehand. This shows you're giving them something of value.
Okay, so they feel a subtle obligation to reciprocate that helpfulness later. What's next?
Then, you bring in social proof. You could highlight how other successful teams or departments within the company have already adopted this software and are seeing great results. You can even share testimonials from early adopters who rave about its efficiency.
That helps alleviate any fear of the unknown. People see that others are successfully navigating it. And to make sure they feel comfortable, you'd leverage the principle of liking, right?
Precisely. You'd ensure your communication is friendly, approachable, and emphasizes shared goals. You'd remind them of past successes you've achieved together. If you genuinely like and respect your team, and they feel that, they're far more likely to be receptive to your suggestions.
So, we've got reciprocity giving a sense of obligation, social proof reducing risk, and liking building rapport. What about authority?
Authority comes into play by demonstrating your own expertise with the software, perhaps by having certifications or highlighting your experience with similar tools in the past. Or you could bring in an expert from the software company for a demonstration, lending their authoritative voice to the benefits.
So you're not just saying this is good, but this is good, and here's why you can trust me and the experts to tell you it's good.
You've got it. Now let's think about scarcity. This might involve highlighting that early adoption comes with exclusive access to advanced features or a special discounted training bundle that will only be available for a limited time.
That creates a sense of urgency and makes the opportunity more valuable because it's not going to be around forever. That's a smart way to nudge people who might be on the fence.
And finally, the commitment and consistency principle. You can ask team members for small, initial commitments, like agreeing to attend just one introductory webinar or trying out one specific feature. Once they've made that small, public commitment, they'll feel a stronger urge to be consistent with it by fully adopting the software.
It's like starting with a small yes to lead to a bigger yes. And don't forget framing. How does that fit into the integrated approach?
Framing is the overarching lens. You'd frame the entire initiative not just as adopting new software, but as an investment in making their work easier, more efficient, and more impactful. You'd frame the scarcity as a unique opportunity for growth, rather than just a deadline. You frame the social proof as evidence of smart colleagues achieving great things, not just a herd mentality.
So, framing sets the narrative, and then the other principles provide the supporting evidence and emotional anchors within that narrative. It's quite a sophisticated interplay.
It really is. When you combine these, you're not just presenting facts, you're creating a compelling story. You're addressing rational concerns with evidence, emotional hesitations with rapport and social validation, and behavioral nudges with commitment and scarcity.
And in a leadership context, this means you're not just directing people, you're guiding them towards a beneficial outcome in a way that respects their autonomy and makes them feel good about the choice.
Think about this. If you just used scarcity, people might feel pressured. If you only used authority, they might feel dictated to. But when you weave them together, offering value first through reciprocity, showing it's a proven path with social proof, building trust through liking and authority, making the opportunity exciting with scarcity, and getting small commitments to encourage follow through, all under a positive frame, you create a truly persuasive and ethical appeal.
This truly demonstrates that ethical influence isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding human psychology and applying that understanding constructively. It's about helping people make decisions that are ultimately in their best interest by making those decisions easier and more appealing.
You've summarized it perfectly, Lisa. The integration of these principles allows us to move beyond simply stating what needs to be done to inspiring and guiding others to enthusiastically participate. It transforms a directive into a shared journey toward success. So, to recap, we've seen how reciprocity, social proof, liking, authority, scarcity, commitment, and framing don't just work in isolation. When strategically combined, they create powerful, ethical persuasion. They build trust, reduce resistance, and motivate action by addressing our psychological drivers in a holistic way.
It's a full spectrum approach to influencing others, making it not just effective, but also sustainable and ethical.
Next episode, Influence in Action, Case Studies and Scenarios. We'll put these integrated principles to the test with real-world examples. Welcome back. Today, We're putting the influence principles into action.
Exactly, Alex. We've learned about reciprocity, commitment and consistency, social proof, liking, authority, and scarcity. Now, we get to dissect how these principles play out in everyday situations, both ethically and sometimes not so ethically.
Let's start with a classic example of reciprocity. Imagine a local craft brewery. They offer free samples of their new saison. You taste it, you like it, and then you feel inclined to buy a pint or maybe even a growler to take home. They gave you something for free, a small taste, and your brain nudges you to give something back, even if it's just your money.
That's such a clear illustration of reciprocity. The brewery offered a gift, and that created a sense of obligation. It's not just about the beer, it's about that subtle feeling of wanting to reciprocate the generosity. It makes you feel good about supporting them.
And then there's commitment and consistency. Think about a gym membership. When you sign up, you're making a public commitment to your health. Over time, you consistently go to the gym to stay consistent with that initial commitment. Even on days you don't feel like it, you might push yourself to go because it aligns with the identity you've established as someone who exercises regularly.
That's so relatable. It's that internal drive to remain consistent with our past actions and statements. If we say we're a healthy person, our actions, like going to the gym, tend to follow suit to maintain that consistency. It's a powerful self-reinforcing cycle.
Absolutely. Now, let's look at social proof in the context of online reviews. When you're deciding on a restaurant, do you check the reviews? Of course you do. If a restaurant has hundreds of five-star reviews, you're much more likely to choose it over one with very few or overwhelmingly negative feedback. We look to others to guide our behavior, assuming they know something we don't.
It's like a behavioral compass. If everyone else is doing it, it must be the right thing to do, or at least a safe bet. Those online testimonials act as a powerful signal that this place is good, and we want to be part of that positive experience.
Moving on to liking. Consider a salesperson. If that salesperson is friendly, finds common ground with you, perhaps complimenting your taste in something unrelated to the product, you're far more likely to buy from them. They make you feel good, and that positive association transfers to the product or service they're offering.
So, it's not just about the product's features, but the entire interaction. Being genuinely friendly and finding those us too moments creates a connection, and that connection makes us more receptive to their persuasion. It's about building rapport first.
Precisely. And what about authority? Think about a doctor recommending a specific treatment. We trust their expertise and often follow their advice without much question, even if it involves significant changes or costs. Their credentials and perceived knowledge give them a high degree of influence.
That's a prime example of relying on an authority figure. We recognize that they possess specialized knowledge, and we defer to that expertise. It simplifies our decision-making process because we trust they've done the research and know what's best.
Now let's consider scarcity. Have you ever seen a limited time offer or only a few left in stock banner? That immediately creates a sense of urgency. If something is rare, it's perceived as more valuable, and we feel a stronger desire to obtain it before it's gone.
Oh, that definitely gets my attention. The fear of missing out, or FOMO, is a powerful motivator. It taps into our innate desire to have what others can't have, or what might soon be unavailable. It makes us act faster than we might otherwise.
These principles are constantly at play, often in combination. Let's take an unethical example. A telemarketer. They might start with a small favor, planting the seed of reciprocity. Then, they'll try to get you to agree to a small step, like confirming your name and address, to establish commitment and consistency. They might exaggerate customer testimonials, employing false social proof, and use a confident, authoritative tone to project authority, all while hinting that the offer is ending soon. That's scarcity. It's a manipulative cocktail.
That's a chilling example, but an important one. It shows how these principles, when used without ethical consideration, can be used to exploit people's natural tendencies. The key is recognizing them so we don't fall prey to them.
Exactly. Now, let's flip it to an ethical scenario. Imagine a nonprofit organization trying to recruit volunteers for an environmental cleanup. They might start by highlighting successful past cleanups, showcasing photos of smiling volunteers and the positive impact they had. That's social proof. They'll emphasize the good they're doing for the community and the planet, appealing to our desire for commitment and consistency with our values.
And they might even offer a small thank you gift, like a reusable water bottle, as a gesture of reciprocity. They'd also likely have their respected community leader or a known environmental advocate speak about the importance of the event, leveraging authority.
And they'd frame it as a chance to be part of something special, with limited spots available for a specific team if you sign up by a certain date. A touch of scarcity to encourage prompt action. But crucially, their primary focus is on the genuine good the volunteers will do, aligning with the audience's intrinsic desire to help. It's about leading people towards a positive outcome, not tricking them.
So, to recap, we've seen how reciprocity can be a free sample or a small thank you gift. Commitment and consistency are about aligning actions with past statements or identity. Social proof is about following the crowd. Liking is built on rapport and shared interests. Authority relies on expertise and credibility. And scarcity drives urgency by highlighting rarity.
And we've examined how these principles can be combined, for better or for worse, in various persuasive situations. The crucial takeaway is to be aware of these principles, both when you're using them and when they're being used on you. It's about ethical influence, guiding people towards positive actions and decisions.
Understanding these case studies helps solidify the concepts we've learned. It transforms abstract rules into tangible, observable behaviors in the real world.
Next time, we'll start exploring the ethical dimensions more deeply, tackling the gray areas and how to navigate them responsibly.
Next episode, Navigating Ethical Dilemmas, the Gray Areas.
Welcome back to the Influence Playbook. Last time we covered the dance of persuasion. Now let's tackle ethical dilemmas.
And this is such a critical topic, Alex. We've spent this series learning about the principles of influence, but today we're diving into the trickiest part, the gray areas. It's one thing to understand these concepts in theory, but it's another to apply them in real-world situations where things aren't always black and white.
That's right. We're focusing on navigating ethical dilemmas. We'll be looking at situations where influence can easily slip into manipulation and how to stay on the right side of that fine line.
So, when we talk about gray areas, what exactly do we mean in the context of influence?
Think about it this way. Influence is about guiding someone to a decision or action, ideally one that benefits them and aligns with your goals. Manipulation, on the other hand, is about tricking or coercing someone into a decision, often for your own sole benefit and frequently against their better judgment or true interests. The gray area exists where these two overlap.
I see. So, it's about intent and impact. But sometimes, even with good intentions, our actions might have unintended negative consequences.
Precisely. Let's bring back a concept we touched on in the beginning, defining your ethical boundaries. Remember how we discussed the importance of establishing your non-negotiables? This is where that foundation becomes crucial. If you know, for instance, that lying is absolutely off the table for you, then any tactic that involves dishonesty automatically moves into the manipulative zone.
That makes sense. So, self-awareness about our own values is the first step in navigating these dilemmas. What are some common scenarios where this gray area pops up?
A classic example is using scarcity. We've talked about how highlighting limited availability can increase perceived value. But imagine a salesperson knowing a product is actually in plentiful supply, yet they claim it's the last one to rush a buyer into a purchase they haven't fully considered. That's manipulative scarcity.
Ah, So the principle of scarcity is ethical when the item truly is scarce, or when you're genuinely highlighting a limited time offer. But it becomes problematic when you fabricate or exaggerate the scarcity to create false urgency.
Exactly. And this ties into our discussion on commitment. Getting someone to make a small, initial commitment can lead to larger ones. But what if that initial commitment was obtained through subtle deception, or if following through with the next step disadvantages them significantly? For instance, a free trial that automatically converts to a costly subscription without clear opt-out reminders falls into this category.
That's a great point. The intention might be to get them invested, but if the process isn't transparent or fair, it's crossing a line. We also discussed the principle of liking. People are more persuaded by those they like. How does that play into the gray areas?
That's where flattery can become insincere, or when building rapport is actually a calculated effort to exploit someone's trust for personal gain, rather than genuine connection. Imagine a colleague constantly complimenting a manager's ideas, not because they believe them, but solely to curry favor for a promotion. They're using the principle of liking, but the intent is manipulative.
It sounds like we need to constantly ask ourselves, am I genuinely trying to find a mutually beneficial outcome, or am I trying to trick someone into something that serves only me?
That's the core question. Another area is authority. We've discussed how credible expertise can be influential. The gray area emerges when someone impersonates authority or exaggerates their credentials to appear more knowledgeable than they are. For example, a consultant who presents themselves as a leading expert in their field when they have no such affiliation, just to win a major contract.
That's a clear case of misrepresentation, and definitely unethical. So, beyond self-awareness and questioning our intent, are there practical strategies for staying ethical when the situation feels tricky?
Absolutely. One crucial strategy is transparency. Always strive to be upfront about your intentions and the nature of what you're offering or requesting. If there are conditions, costs, or potential downsides, make them clear. It's about giving the other person all the information they need to make an informed decision.
Transparency. That's a strong anchor. What else?
Focus on long-term value. Ethical influence builds trust over time. Manipulative tactics might yield short-term gains, but they erode relationships and reputations. Think about a business partnership. If one partner consistently uses high-pressure tactics or slightly bends the truth, the other partner will eventually disengage. Building long-term influence is about building long-term trust.
So, considering the future impact of our actions is key. It's like an investment in relationships, rather than a quick cash grab.
Exactly. And another important practice is to empathize with the other person's perspective. Imagine yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if this tactic was used on you? Would you feel respected and empowered, or tricked and resentful? This perspective taking can illuminate whether you're entering manipulative territory.
That's a powerful exercise. It brings us back to the concept of reciprocity, but in reverse. Instead of thinking about what we can get, we're thinking about what we'd want to receive in terms of fair treatment.
Precisely. And finally, be willing to walk away. If you find yourself in a situation where you feel pressured to use ethically questionable tactics to achieve your goal, or if the other person is trying to manipulate you, it's often best to disengage. Not every opportunity is worth compromising your integrity for.
So, to recap, navigating ethical dilemmas and influence involves a commitment to transparency, a focus on long-term value and trust, practicing empathy by seeing things from the other person's perspective, and being willing to disengage when principles are being compromised.
That's a fantastic summary, Lisa. These gray areas are where ethical influence truly shines. It's about mastering influence not just for outcomes, but for upholding integrity and respect.
It really highlights that true influence is a skill built on a foundation of strong ethics, not a shortcut taken through deception.
It absolutely is. These principles are not tools for exploitation, but for honest and effective communication.
This has been a really important discussion, Alex. It adds a critical layer to everything we've learned so far.
I agree. It's a reminder that mastery means consistently applying these concepts with integrity.
So, where do we go from here after tackling these complex ethical situations?
In our next episode, episode 12, we'll focus on building trust and long-term relationships. We'll explore how to cultivate deep-seated trust that underpins all successful influence.
That sounds like a perfect follow-up to today's discussion. I'm looking forward to it.
Welcome back to the Influence Playbook. Last podcast, we navigated the nuanced gray areas of ethical influence, understanding that true persuasion isn't always black and white. Today, we're moving towards the ultimate goal, building trust and fostering long-term relationships.
This feels like the culmination of everything we've discussed. We've explored principles like reciprocity, scarcity, authority, liking, social proof, consistency, and framing. But how do these translate into trust, Alex? Trust isn't something you can leverage with a single interaction.
Exactly, Lisa. Trust is built over time through consistent actions and a genuine commitment to ethical principles. Think of it like building a sturdy house. Each principle we've covered represents a different brick, a different beam. But it's the mortar, the consistent application of those principles with integrity, that holds it all together.
So, it's not just about knowing the principles, but about embodying them consistently. If I always practice reciprocity, but only when it benefits me, people will eventually see through that.
Precisely. When we talk about influence in this context, we're talking about a positive, sustainable impact. This is where empathy becomes paramount. Understanding the other person's perspective, their needs, their concerns, that's the foundation of true connection.
Empathy. That's a powerful word. It means stepping outside of your own agenda and truly trying to see the world through someone else's eyes. How do we actively practice empathy in our interactions?
It starts with active listening, not just hearing the words, but understanding the emotions and the underlying message. Ask clarifying questions like, so if I understand correctly, you're concerned about X, or what are your thoughts on Y? This shows you value their input and are genuinely invested in understanding.
That makes sense. It shifts the dynamic from me trying to persuade them to us working together to find a solution. And when people feel heard and understood, they're much more likely to trust you.
Exactly. And remember the principle of liking? When you genuinely like and appreciate someone, and they feel that from you, that creates a strong bond. This liking isn't about flattery. It's about identifying common ground, offering sincere compliments, and being cooperative. Building trust amplifies this, making the liking feel authentic and earned.
So, the principles we've covered, liking, social proof, all of them, they contribute to building that initial rapport. But trust is the deeper level that sustains relationships. It's about reliability. Can I count on this person?
That's the core. Reliability and consistency. If you say you'll do something, you do it. If you make a mistake, you own it, apologize sincerely, and make amends. This is where the commitment continuum comes into play, not just in their commitments, but in yours. Demonstrating your own commitment to your word builds their confidence in you.
And what about accountability? If I hold myself accountable, it shows I respect the other person and the relationship. It's a sign of maturity and integrity.
Absolutely. Accountability creates a safe space for both parties. It means everyone is playing by the same ethical rules. Now, let's connect this back to the principle of authority. When we establish ourselves as credible experts, it's not just about having knowledge, but about demonstrating that knowledge responsibly. True authority, the kind that builds lasting trust, is humble and service-oriented. You use your expertise to help others, not to dominate them.
That's a critical distinction. Authority can be manipulative or it can be a force for good. When it's used to guide, inform, and support, that's when it fosters trust. It's like a trusted advisor, not a dictator.
Exactly. And this all feeds into creating a positive and sustainable environment. When trust is present, people feel safe to be vulnerable, to share ideas openly, and to collaborate effectively. This isn't just about transactional influence. It's about building relationships that can weather challenges and grow stronger over time.
It sounds like it creates a feedback loop of positivity. When you build trust, you foster loyalty. When people are loyal, they're more likely to be receptive to your ideas and suggestions. And that, in turn, strengthens your ability to influence ethically.
Precisely. It moves beyond the tactical application of principles to a more holistic approach to human connection. Imagine a business where clients feel genuinely valued and understood, not just as a source of revenue, but as partners. That's the power of trust-based influence. They'll stick with you, recommend you, and even forgive occasional minor missteps because the foundation is so strong.
So, to recap for our listeners, building trust and long-term relationships as the apex of ethical influence means: first, consistently embodying the principles we've learned with integrity. Second, practicing genuine empathy through active listening and understanding. Third, demonstrating reliability and accountability in your actions. And fourth, using your expertise, your authority, with humility and a focus on serving others.
That's a perfect summary, Lisa. It's about cultivating a reputation for being dependable, honest, and caring. When you focus on the long game, on nurturing genuine connections, the influence that follows is not only effective but also deeply rewarding. It transforms interactions from persuasive tactics into meaningful partnerships.
It's a much more sustainable and fulfilling way to operate, both personally and professionally. It's about making a positive impact that lasts.
Indeed. And in our next episode, we'll be putting all of this into practice with your personal influence mastery plan. Next episode, your personal influence mastery plan. Welcome back. Last time we discussed building trust. Now let's craft your personal master plan.
That's right, Alex. Today, we're solidifying everything we've learned by creating our own influence mastery plan. It's about making ethical persuasion a practical, everyday skill.
Exactly, Lisa. The first step in building your personal mastery plan is honest self-assessment. You need to understand your starting point. What are your natural strengths when it comes to influence? And where are the opportunities for growth?
So, we look back at our interactions. When have we been successful? What principles were we using, perhaps even unconsciously? And importantly, when have things fallen flat? What could we have done differently?
Precisely. Think about specific situations. Did you offer value first, like in a reciprocity principle? Did you find common ground to build rapport, using the liking principle? Or did you struggle to establish credibility when you could have leveraged your experience, referring to the authority principle? Take time to reflect on these past experiences.
And this self-reflection isn't just about past wins or losses. It's about observing ourselves in current interactions. Which principles feel natural to you? Which ones require more conscious effort?
That leads us to the second crucial step, setting clear, actionable goals. For each influence principle, identify one or two specific actions you want to focus on improving. These goals should be practical and achievable.
Can you give us an example of a specific goal for a principle like social proof?
Certainly, for social proof, a goal could be, in my next team meeting, I will find an opportunity to mention how a similar successful project was received by a respected colleague before presenting my own idea. This is concrete and measurable.
And for the principle of commitment and consistency?
A goal might be, after I get agreement on a small task from a team member, I will follow up to confirm their commitment to the next logical step. The key is to be specific about what you'll do and when. The third step is developing a strategy for consistent practice and integration. Knowing the principles is one thing, but applying them regularly in real-world scenarios is how you truly master them.
This sounds like being very intentional with our everyday conversations and tasks. How can we actively create these practice opportunities?
Look for natural openings. Could your weekly one-on-one meetings be a chance to practice active listening and showing genuine interest, core to the liking principle? Could your project updates be an opportunity to highlight unique aspects of your work, tapping into the scarcity principle?
So, it's about looking for those moments where we can consciously and authentically weave in one of the principles we're working on.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of framing. As we discussed in episode 8, practice telling stories that effectively showcase your expertise or the value of your ideas. This directly supports the authority and framing principles.
And actively seeking feedback, as we touched upon in episode 12 regarding building trust, is vital here too. Asking trusted colleagues how you came across when discussing a proposal, for example, can provide invaluable insights.
Absolutely. The fourth step is establishing a system for review and adaptation. Your mastery plan isn't a document you create once and forget. It needs to evolve with your growth. Schedule regular check-ins, perhaps monthly, to assess your progress.
And when things aren't going as planned, we don't give up. We analyze why and adapt our approach. Is the goal too ambitious? Is the method not quite right?
Precisely. It's a continuous learning loop. You might need to revisit the core concept of a principle or try a different tactical approach. This flexibility is key to long-term mastery. Remember, ethical influence is built on trust and sustainable relationships. Your plan should reflect that integrity.
So, to quickly recap the steps for our listeners building their personal influence mastery plan, first, conduct a self-assessment of your strengths and areas for development. Second, set specific, actionable, and achievable goals for the principles you want to focus on. Third, create intentional opportunities to practice these principles in your daily interactions and communications. And fourth, regularly review and adapt your plan, always with integrity.
That's a perfect distillation, Lisa. Your personal influence mastery plan is your commitment to becoming a more effective and ethical communicator. It's about consciously shaping your influence for positive outcomes.
It truly is about cultivating a valuable life skill rather than just learning a set of techniques.
Indeed, keep practicing, keep reflecting, and keep growing. This is how you truly master ethical influence.
Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to the Influence Playbook. In our final episode, we'll look at the future of ethical influence and wrap up our journey.
And what a journey it's been, Alex. We've explored so many powerful principles for ethical persuasion. It feels like just yesterday we were diving into reciprocity.
You're right, Lisa. We started with the foundation of ethical influence, understanding that it's not about manipulation, but about genuine connection and providing value. We established that true influence is built on integrity.
Absolutely. And then we really dug into the core motivations, like understanding the science of what's in it for me? Or your WIFM, as you often call it. It's all about understanding what drives people.
Exactly, and how we can align our goals with theirs. From there, we explore the compelling power of the pack with social proof. How often do we look to others to guide our decisions? It's a fundamental human tendency.
It really is. And it's so easy to see how that can be used ethically. Then we moved on to building bridges with the principle of liking. People are more easily persuaded by those they know and like, which makes so much sense.
It's about finding common ground and genuine appreciation. And as we build on that, we explored the weight of authority, not in a bossy way, but about establishing our credibility and expertise. People naturally defer to those they see as knowledgeable.
That's a crucial distinction, Alex. It's about being a trusted source. Then we touched on the scarcity mindset, the idea that we tend to value things more when they're perceived as rare or limited.
And this ties so closely into the commitment continuum. When people make a commitment, even a small one, they're more likely to follow through. It's about getting that initial yes and building momentum.
Yes, that walking the talk aspect. And we then delved into the art of framing, which is so subtle, yet so powerful. How we present information really shapes how it's perceived.
It's like choosing which lens to look through. And all these principles, they don't exist in isolation. We learned about the dance of persuasion, how to integrate all these principles for a holistic approach.
That felt like a real breakthrough episode, didn't it? Seeing how all the pieces fit together. And then we saw influence in action with some great case studies and scenarios. It's one thing to learn the principles, another to see them applied.
Real-world examples are invaluable, but influence isn't always straightforward. That's why we dedicated time to navigating ethical dilemmas and understanding those gray areas. It's essential to be aware of the potential pitfalls.
Being mindful of those potential missteps is so important for maintaining integrity. And building trust and long-term relationships was a big takeaway. Influence that lasts is built on a foundation of trust.
Absolutely. It's not about a quick win. It's about sustainable, positive interactions. And in our last practical episode, we helped listeners create their personal influence mastery plan.
That was such a valuable step, giving everyone a roadmap to continue their growth. So, Alex, as we bring this series to a close, what do you see as the future of ethical influence?
I see it becoming even more critical, Lisa, as our world becomes more complex and interconnected. The ability to ethically persuade and lead becomes paramount. It's not just about personal or professional success anymore. It's about navigating societal challenges.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about the big issues we face: climate change, public health, social justice. Effective, ethical influence is what drives positive change. It's about mobilizing people towards a common, beneficial goal. It requires clarity, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to truth.
So, it's moving beyond just individual interactions to a broader societal impact.
Precisely. And the tools we use to influence are also evolving. With the rise of digital communication and artificial intelligence, new ethical considerations emerge. We have to be more vigilant than ever about ensuring our influence remains positive and constructive. It's about a conscious, ongoing effort to use our persuasive skills for good.
That makes sense. It's a continuous learning process.
It truly is. The future of ethical influence lies in continuous learning, adaptability, and a deep-seated commitment to the well-being of others. It requires us to constantly reflect on our intent and impact.
And it's about empowering others, not controlling them.
Exactly. It's about creating buy-in through understanding and shared vision, rather than coercion. The principles we've discussed, reciprocity, social proof, liking, authority, scarcity, commitment, and framing, these are timeless. They're the building blocks of human connection and agreement.
And integrating them thoughtfully makes us not just more persuasive, but better communicators and leaders.
That's the ultimate goal: to be effective, to be ethical, and to be impactful. We've covered a lot of ground in this series. We began by understanding the fundamental nature of ethical influence, realizing it's built on trustworthiness and providing value. We then explored the core drivers of human behavior, like understanding what's in it for someone, the powerful force of social proof, and the importance of being liked.
From there, we delved into establishing credibility through authority, appreciating the value of scarcity, and the consistent nature of commitment. We also learned how to shape perception through framing and, critically, how to combine all these elements in the dance of persuasion.
We examined real-world applications, wrestled with ethical complexities, and understood that lasting influence is forged through trust and strong relationships. Finally, we empowered you to create your personal plan for mastery.
Looking back, the key theme has always been about creating win-win situations and fostering genuine connections.
It's about understanding people, respecting them, and communicating in a way that leads to mutual benefit and positive outcomes. The future of ethical influence is bright, but it requires conscious effort and a commitment to integrity from all of us.
So, to our listeners, keep practicing these principles, stay curious, and always strive to influence for the greater good.
It's been an incredible series. Thank you for joining us on this journey of influence.
Thanks for listening to this series.